many centuries, Kazakh people strove for independence. This dream came true as a result of the people's aspirations and hopes. And this is the merit of many generations. Therefore, for every Kazakhstan citizen, the celebration of Independence Day takes on a special meaning. Independence is an opportunity to achieve your goals, realize your dreams, and realize your ambitions, probably without looking back for any approval. For me, independence is freedom. Freedom of choice, the decision of your own future, the freedom of creativity. When the energy continues and it flows wherever you want. For me, independence is when they give you the opportunity to develop. This also applies when working with a teacher. When a teacher tells you, you can dance how you feel, however you want to dance. These friends share their thoughts about independence. Each of these young people was born in the same year as the young sovereign republic. Together, they took their first steps, matured, and learned about self-reliance. Freedom and responsibility for them are the components of independence. The exact same formula was once introduced by the first president of Kazakhstan, Nursultan Nazarbayev, who became the leader of a union republic. After a decade and a half, he recalled, "The historical uniqueness of the period preceding the establishment of sovereign Kazakhstan is that it can be compared with a state of clinical death experienced by the largest state organism, the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. It was in a coma, paralyzed by the economic and political processes, and social consciousness was shaking with a convulsive reaction to these processes. It was a tough time. Decapitated and weak, the Soviet state was failing after a big failure. They were caused mainly by old internal problems that the authorities could not cope with. Adverse external factors made the situation worse. Industrial production declined sharply. Due to mining strikes, coal production significantly decreased. Oil production has fallen dramatically, and with it, the price of black gold in the world market. The country's foreign exchange reserves were depleting. It depended on foreign loans. The ruble devaluated, store shelves were empty, and all this naturally led to an increase in social tension. Riots erupted more often in Union republics. Nagorno-Karabakh, South Ossetia, Transnistria. Conflicts escalated into warfare using weapons and bricks. The authorities were not ready for the riots. Therefore, by the beginning of the 90s, political movements for independence and leaving the USSR began to emerge in the republics. In the spring of 1991, 6 out of 15 republics refused to take part in the all-union referendum on the need to maintain the union.
Согласно Конституции, СССР это была конфедерация, то есть союз государств.
In general, according to the constitution of the USSR, it was a confederation or a union of states, a union of independent states, states that had the right of secession. Each of the 15 republics had to transfer part of its authority to the central command, to print common money and to lead the defense of the union states. Formally, it transferred only part of these functions to the center, but in fact, the Soviet Union was a rigid unitary state. We know that 93% of the Kazakhstani economy, for example, of all Kazakhstani enterprises, they were subordinated to Moscow, or were double subordinated, the so-called dual subordination to both Alma-Ata and Moscow. But it is clear that when there were two such authorities, the highest authority will be the Union Ministry and the Union Department, and the territory of the Republic was to a greater extent controlled.
Стояло там союзное какое-то министерство, союзное ведомство, да, и за республиканским руководством в большей степени был такой вопрос контроля над этой территорией.
The first years of independence are of great importance for any country. During this time, the foundations of the state are laid, and society is given the initial impetus of development. If the foundations turn out to be fragile and the impulse is wrong, then these states are regarded as incompetent by specialists. The experience of many countries that have gained sovereignty suggests that in the first stage, the role of those who will take the responsibility of a leader is very important. It must be a leader who knows where and why he leads his country. For Kazakhstan, Nursultan Nazarbayev has become such a key figure.
Назарбаев был избран первым секретарем Компартии Казахстана.
In 1989, Nazarbayev was elected as the first secretary of the Communist Party of Kazakhstan, and he outlined one of the key tasks. He marked the achievement of this goal. He said that we will achieve full control over the Kazakhstan economy. We ourselves will be the owners of our republic. And he developed in particular such a concept of economic sovereignty of the Kazakh SSR, which he proposed to self-finance the country. What did Nazarbayev suggest? He said, "We are giving up all kinds of subsidies that the center is giving us now. We will refuse it. But we will keep all the income that Kazakhstan receives." When it came to real calculations, all the allied departments opposed. The concept did not pass, but it became clear that independence, with the help of half measures, could not be won. To win, it was necessary to dismantle the Soviet model of the government, in which the head of the party organization acted as the head of the republic. And in April 1990, the Supreme Council of Kazakhstan established the post of President of the Kazakh SSR. After a year and a half, in 1991, the first general elections were held. The only candidate was Nursultan Nazarbayev. Almost 99% of the republic's voters cast their votes for him.
Это тоже был такой очень серьезный показатель, что вот
This was also a very serious indicator that national self-awareness has grown, that people already feel that they have the right to dispose, feel their national interests, that they consider this country theirs, that they have the right to vote, they have an opinion.
что у них есть голос, у них есть мнение.
Shortly before that, in October 1990, the Supreme Council of Kazakhstan adopted the Declaration on the State Sovereignty of the Kazakh SSR. It proclaimed the supremacy of the Constitution of the Republic and its laws. Kazakhstan was declared the subject of international law and the people the only source of state power. In fact, the provisions of the declaration did not have legal force. Only a constitutional act could give Kazakhstan sovereignty legal grounds. Nevertheless, it carried an invaluable symbolic meaning. It was the declaration that opened a direct path to independence for the
На
republic.
тот момент была очень большая неопределенность, в принципе, не только у руководства.
At that time, there was a very big uncertainty, in principle, not only among the country's leadership, but also among the whole population. In the first place, it was difficult for the ordinary Kazakh citizen, for each family, how to live on and how will it be? The leadership had such tasks on a global scale. It was necessary to organize not only from an economic point of view, but to ensure the continuity of these ties. After all, we worked as a union state. Everything was controlled by the center. The capacities were all regulated, economy was planned. A quick and good managerial decision was needed to manage all of this. In those days, the first president signed a number of fundamental decrees on the formation of the Security Council of the Kazakh SSR, on the transition of state enterprises and organizations of union subordination under the authority of the government of the republic, and on the creation of a gold reserve and a diamond fund. Kazakhstan people met these political steps with great enthusiasm. A new state was born before their eyes, and they believed in its great future.
Нурсултан Назарбаев, он находился, мне кажется, в таком достаточно жестком режиме рабочем, потому что надо было постоянно...
The first president, Nursultan Nazarbayev, it seems to me, was in such a tough working condition, because it was necessary for him to make very serious and responsible decisions. There was no one to help him. You are already an independent country. You have your independence. Move. How you take advantage of these opportunities will be up to you. And now, one of the first from an ideological, political point of view, it was a decree on the rehabilitation of the repressed on the events of November 16 to 17, 1986. It was such a definite message for the people of Kazakhstan, especially for its patriotic part. The second very important point, if you recall, in 1991, Nursultan Nazarbayev introduced the official holiday of Nowruz. And since 1992, Kazakhstan began to celebrate this holiday at an official level.
Официальный праздник Наурыз. И вот с 1992 года Казахстан начал отмечать вот этот праздник уже на официальном уровне.
The head of state devoted the entire first working week after the election to work on the text of the law on the state independence of the Republic of Kazakhstan. On December 16, 1991, this law was signed. A new independent state appeared on the political map of the world. Historical justice triumphed. The dream of generations came true. The first country to recognize the sovereignty of Kazakhstan was the Republic of Turkey. This happened almost immediately, a few hours after I signed the law on independence, and Kazakhstan people highly appreciated this manifestation of Turkic solidarity. The next day, December 11, Kazakhstan was recognized by the Russian Federation, December 25th by the United States of America. On January 3, 1992, China joined the list, and by the end of the year, another 102 states. Nursultan Nazarbayev era of independence. During this period, for the first time in the history of independent Kazakhstan, new state institutions were introduced in the country: the armed forces, diplomatic and customs services. Measures were taken to strengthen and shape the state border. Work began on symbols and national currency.
После объявления независимости стал вопрос о
After the declaration of independence, the question arose about the national currency, because the market and the language of the market are money. If you rely on foreign currency, this is not sovereignty. This is not an independent policy. I then wrote the first letter to the president that we will need to move faster to introduce the national currency, because this is the first foundation, the basis of economic independence and, in general, the sovereignty of the entire state.
самостоятельности и вообще самостоятельности суверенитета всего государства.
At that moment, the young republic faced a serious dilemma. Either continue to rely on a neighbor who controls and changes at its discretion the conditions for the existence of a single ruble zone, or take a decisive step to adopt its own currency. The first president chose the second option. After a long discussion, the final choice was made for the image of famous and historically significant personalities of Kazakhstan. 110 partner countries, $300 billion of foreign direct investment. Independence has opened up new possibilities and boundless horizons. Market reforms have enabled more than 1 million of our citizens to demonstrate entrepreneurial talent in the economy. But this is only the beginning of the journey. The first portrait series belonged to a graduate of the Russian Academy of Khanov. Almost 90% are his works. In any case, we still have some kind of fighting character, because we need to achieve, we need to show something, because unlike the year 2000s, which is more associated with creativity, we have such a mundane character, where we need to prove ourselves, achieve, show, and even overcome. Because on the one hand, we lived through crisis, while on the other, we lived in independence. Zarina Kakienova is a young entrepreneur. She is 28, same age as the independence of Kazakhstan. But she is not a newbie in business. She is proud that she works for herself all her life. She paid the taxes, creates jobs. This is her contribution to the country's economy. Literally last year, we launched this project, a social media marketing agency. Almost from the second month, we achieved the level of self-financing basis and recorded profits. Well, specifically, our slogan is to make Instagram sell. This is sales through social networks. We help our loyal audience to develop, promote themselves, express themselves through social networks. At the moment, the sales channel is the most popular, the most income-generating stream, despite the fact that the price of a check for advertising is very low, affordable. For Dias Bakhtiarov, independence is an open border. The young doctoral student of Nazarbayev University was among the first to receive a diploma of the most prestigious university in the country today. Afterwards, he studied magistracy in South Korea. 2 years later, Dias returned.
Огромные возможности в плане обучения, работы.
Now I have huge opportunities in terms of training and work. Everything that I have accumulated now, my baggage of knowledge and abilities, gives me the opportunity to study at any university in the world. I am staying in Kazakhstan now, not because I cannot go abroad, because after Korea, I felt that I had a great desire to contribute to Kazakhstan, to the future of Kazakhstan. So I decided to stay here at the university. Dias's dream is to open his own company, which activities will be associated with the development of energy-efficient technologies.
Я четко знал, что я хочу работать в проектах, где связано именно программирование, возможность оптимизации и нахождения оптимальных.
I clearly knew that I want to work in projects where programming, the possibility of optimization, and finding the best methods or algorithms are clearly related. Let me show you my office. Here, my project is currently connected with drones. We use these drones to determine the volume and location of oil and gas reserves in western Kazakhstan. It turns out that a lot of sensors are scattered on the surface of the Earth. Now, I will show you that approximately such sensors are on the surface of the Earth, and there are tens of thousands of them. What are they doing? They receive seismic data and record microshocks in memory. Microshocks occur constantly, every day, and depending on the location of the sensors, these shocks are recorded at different points in time. And the difference in time between these registrations gives us the opportunity to determine the location and volume of oil and gas. Now the problem is to collect this data from these wireless sensors. To do this, we use drones that will fly from the base, fly up to these sensors, and collect data and return home.
Регистрация по времени дает нам возможность определить нахождение и объем нефти и газа. Теперь проблема – это собрать эти данные с этих беспроводных датчиков. Для этого мы как раз используем дроны, которые будут вылетать с базы, подлетать к этим сенсорам, собирать данные и обратно возвращаться домой.
So, by the power of thought, peers of independence replace kilometers of bobbins with wireless technology. The project is still experimental, but it's already clear it will be much more economical in terms of material costs. The largest mining companies have already become interested in him. Diaz is working on the Jibek project too. A group of young scientists have created a digital platform to help farmers increase their agricultural yields. Over the years of its independence, Kazakhstan has consolidated its authority, not only in the political arena. It is called as the Central Asian Leopard. Economics, foreign policy, production, and even culture. The young republic has made a powerful leap. Kazakhstan is recognized all over the world, says Aygirim Beketayeva. At 28, she is an honored worker of the republic. This is her personal achievement over the years of independence.
Я Бекетаева Айгерим, являюсь ведущей
I am Beketayeva Aygirim. I am the leading soloist of this beautiful theater, Astana Opera. I became involved in this art thanks to my mother. At the age of 9, I entered the Almaty Choreographic School, and in 2013, by invitation, I arrived in Nur Sultan at the Kulyach by Sietova Theater. In 2013, they entrusted me with the opening of this particular theater. It was on this stage I danced the beautiful ballet Sleeping Beauty.
Ну и сейчас мне очень хочется показать вам сердце нашего театра.
And now I really want to show you the heart of the theater. This is our auditorium and the stage itself, on which all our premieres and all our performances take place. It has 1,200 seats. A short tour of the theater, Aygirim showed what conditions are now created for artists. At the dawn of independence, one could only dream of it.
Это храм для нас. Мы очень ценим, очень дорожим этим театром.
This is a temple for us. We really appreciate it and we value this theater very much because all conditions are created here, not only for ballet, but both for the opera and the orchestra. For us, for ballet, the main thing that is needed is the ballet floor because it is unusual. It has several layers, which, when jumping, when landing, does not result in knees and joints pain. We can only work and give the audience joy and inspiration. At first glance, it all seems easy and simple. In fact, behind the scenes remains a titanic work without sleep and rest, with injuries and sometimes nervous breakdowns. But the viewers do not even know about it.
К этой профессии, наверное, нужно относиться очень серьезно.
Probably this profession should be taken very seriously. You need to love it because not everyone does that. Often it happens that due to heavy workloads, because we come here to the theater at 10 a.m. and leave at 10 p.m., well, it's very beautiful. It's like the coin which has two sides. You look from the auditorium at the beauty, the lightness, and from the other hand, it is a very big responsibility. We work out almost every turn of the head in the hall to the fingertips, so that when we are on stage, everything seems so easy.
Отрабатываем практически каждый поворот головы до кончиков пальцев, чтобы на сцене потом казалось все так легко.
Why did Aygirim talk about this? It was also difficult, in her opinion, for the chief architect of an independent country. Each of her new steps was a step towards overcoming difficulties, crises, and problems. No country has set such ambitious goals in such a short time. But Kazakhstan succeeded, and today every citizen can celebrate its independence as a day of his personal success.